Good day, poker peeps. Sky with Smart Poker Study. I have 11 tips for all you online players who play on America's Cardroom. Now, these 11 tips are going to help you have more fun in the felt, help you make better decisions, and help you win more money. Let's get to it. Gambate! Tip number 1 is to use the lobby statistics for table selection. There's the average pot statistic, the percent flop statistic, and the hands per hour. First off, the average pot. Think about what you want out of the tables you play on. You want tables full of recreational players, fishy players, or even maniacs who commit a ton of chips to the pot. So that average pot is going to be high. You want to see an average pot of like 17 big blinds, 18 big blinds, 36 big blinds even. The more big blinds, the better. Now, when it comes to percent flop, this is the number of hands dealt that see the flop. You also want a higher percentage there because the more weak players at the table, the more flops you're going to see. If you got a ton of 3-betters, people are open raising, folding to 3-bets a lot, you're going to see a low number. You're going to see like 22%. What you want is anywhere from like 26 up to 33%. The more action there is, the higher those average pots, the more likely you're going to make some money. And of course, find the fish that leads to making money. The last one, hands per hour. I generally don't want to look for 115, 116 hands per hour because like I said before, when people are 3-betting and 4-betting a ton, hands end pre-flop, you see a lot more hands that way. So look for hands per hour anywhere in the 80 to 90 hand range. Tip number 2 is for the tournament players. Believe the estimated tournament runtime. Every tournament on ACR, they expect a certain number of players based on history, based on the buy-in, based on the day of the week. They also know how long on average the tournaments take. They put this number here so that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. If the tournament tells you it's going to run about 4.5 hours, only play it if you have at least 4.5 hours that you can dedicate to it. If you could only play for about 3.5 hours, don't play it because you're limiting your potential return on investment because you are not going to make it to the end of the tournament. In this particular tournament, Super Bounty Final Table Pay tournament, it says 4.5 hours is the estimated runtime. I played in it the other day. I got second place and it was exactly 4 hours and 20 minutes. They're spot on with these run times. Tip number 3 is to save your hand histories into PokerTracker 4. Probably one of the reasons why you chose America's Cardroom is for the long-term hand history tracking as well as the HUD stats on your opponents. So in the settings menu, just go to hand histories and then save hand history, turn that one on right there. Now you can access all these hands. It's not only great for reviewing your hands after the fact, seeing your statistics, seeing your win rates, finding leaks, plugging leaks. It's also good for your in-game play. You can turn on that HUD and you can start exploiting your opponents based on their tendencies that the HUD illuminates. Speaking of the HUD, tip number 4 is use your HUD for better reads and better decisions. You're playing on ACR so you can have a history of hands and you can use your HUD against your opponents. When you get into a spot where you open raise and you face a 3-bet from a loose aggressive player and you suspect that maybe he's bluffing, that HUD is going to help you out. Find their 3-bet stat in the HUD. Oh, it's rather high. Let's look at it by position. Open the pop-up. Holy cow, they're 3-betting before in the past on the button and they folded in the past. They're 3-betting on the button versus my MP open raise. Let me test out a 4-bet bluff. Boom, you make it. Boom, they fold. You utilize that HUD to make reads and to make exploitative plays. Tip number 5 is to turn on Show Action History. You can find the setting under Playing Tools. Once you turn this on, you can see the action as it progresses through the hand. This allows you to see what your opponents did on all the prior streets. And it can be really helpful when you get to the turn and you just can't really remember, you're not thinking about what they did pre-flop and on the flop. When you get to the river, you can see, oh, my opponent raised pre-flop, bet the flop, bet the turn, and now I'm facing another bet on the river. Or if you're the one betting on the river, look at your opponent. He called pre-flop from out of position. He check called flop, check called turn. Should I value bet this river? Seeing that line is one additional little tip, a bit of information that online players have that those live players just don't. Tip number 6 is to preset those bet size buttons. Under the settings menu, under playing tools and then bet sizing, these are what I do. On unraised pots, I have the button set for 2.5 big blinds, 3, and then 4 big blinds. I have it set for my 3-bet sizes at 9, 10, or 12 big blinds. This just makes it quicker and easier to make the same bet, and it really helps when I'm multi-tabling. I don't want to be typing in the bet size each time, using the scroll bar each and every time. Boom, I click 10 big blinds. Boom, I hit raise, and I made it with 2 quick button clicks. Post flop, I have half pot, 67% pot, 3/4 pot, and then full pot size. Those are my settings. Tip number 7 is to take your player notes in PokerTracker 4, not within the site's software. In your HUD, use the little note editor icon, and that's where you put all of your player notes. The reason for this is you'll have access to those now when you're playing as well as when you're studying. If you leave your notes in the Americas Cardroom software, later on when you're studying some hands, you're not going to see those notes. You're not going to be able to rely on your prior reads to help you during your studies and to analyze your play and your opponent's play. Tip number 8 is to view stacks in terms of big blinds. Now, this is great for tournament players and for cash game players. For tournament players, it's really good because those ever-changing antes and blinds make it really hard to calculate in your head, oh man, the big blind is 8,000, but I have this much. How many big blinds is that? When you have it calculated in terms of big blinds, boom, there's the number for you. You see your big blinds, your opponent's big blinds, how many big blinds are in the pot. Nice and simple. For cash game players, you want to do the same thing. It helps you to not be results oriented, to not think about the money on the line, because making, for example, a 9 big blind 3-bet at 5NL, that's only 45 cents, no big deal. At 2NL, that's 18 cents. At 25NL, that's $2.25. If seeing those dollar amounts maybe affect your decisions, when you have it in big blinds, it's 9 big blinds at 2NL, 9 big blinds at 5NL, 9 big blinds at 25NL. It also allows you to play different stakes the exact same way. You can have a 2NL, a 5NL, a 10NL, a 25NL table open at the same time. You see them all in big blinds? It doesn't matter. So easy. You don't have to calculate dollars in your head. Tip number 9 is to color code each player's HUD panel by player type. Now, I do this for all my opponents because it makes it really quick and easy to gauge what kind of player I'm up against. I don't really have to look at VPIP, PFR, 3-bet, C-bet, fold to C-bet to know that, hey, green means fish, yellow means tag. So for myself, green fish, yellow tag, orange for a loose aggressive, red for a nit, and I use purple for the gamblers. Tip number 10 is to tag hands for later review. You use PokerTracker 4 so that you have that database of hands. But as you're playing, sometimes a hand comes up. Should I call this 3-bet? Should I 3-bet? Should I C-bet? Should I bluff check raise? You just don't know what to do. Those are great hands to tag to review those spots later. Sometimes you misclick a hand. You want to tag that so you can review those later, kind of gauge what happened there. Why did I make that weird-sized bet? Or why did I limp into the pot with pocket aces? Tip number 11 is to look for 3-betters before you enter the pot. Now, America's Cardroom, it's full of 3-betters. So before you open raise, before you ISO raise a limper, look around at the remaining players to see who is capable of 3-betting. If nobody is capable of 3-betting, go ahead and open raise. If one of them does 3-bet, they likely have a good hand. It's going to make it easier to respond. But if you're going to open raise and you see 4 more players, they all love to 3-bet 8, 9, 12% of the time, whoa. Before you open raise, expect a 3-bet. So of course, you can maybe narrow your range so you can more easily defend against those expected 3-bets. Maybe you can make a larger size to kind of deflect their 3-bet, convince them not to 3-bet you. Or you can make the plan. I'm going to open raise right now. I know this player is going to 3-bet me. When he makes it 10, I'm going to make it 36. Thank you so much for watching today. Please like the video if you like the video. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.